to today's Los Blancos podcast, and it is time. This is season 5 of the Los Blancos podcast. I can't believe this has been running for, well, not 5 years, but 5 seasons, and we continue, we soldier on, and we are here now. Today, we're just going to look at some news, some general news surrounding the world of Real Madrid, as well as the end, we'll be talking a bit about the Euros and the Copa America. So, exciting episode today. But let's start with the most prevalent news right now about Real Madrid, which is the Lenny Yoro situation. Now, the rumours have been that we have been circling around Lenny Yoro, and he's going to be our number one priority for the rest of this summer. So I'm quite excited about that. That's a good deal. I've continued to say that this is a good deal for us to have and for us to do, right? But there is a big problem. Well, I wouldn't say a big problem, but a problem has arisen in the fact that Manchester United have bid 50 million euros for Lenny Yoro, and it has been accepted by Lille. Now, Yoro has the option now to pick Manchester United, or he could stall and wait for Real Madrid. Now, that is the question. Does he stall? And I do think he does. At this point in his career, I think it's better for him to stall and wait for Real Madrid rather than go straight to Manchester United, especially with the problems of Manchester United. I'd rather go to Real Madrid, but I might be a bit biased in that situation. The thing is, Real Madrid want this deal done on their own conditions, which is below 60 million. Or they'll wait an extra year, and I think this completely corresponds to what we did with Camavinga years ago with Ren, and eventually we got what we wanted, which was a deal of 30 million in that year. And I think something similar might go down with Lenny Yoro. Now, we see what Lenny Yoro has a year left on his deal, and at this point in time, Real Madrid do not want to deal over 50 million euros for Lenny Yoro, especially with 1 year left. So I think the best possible solution is obviously he has to stall, which that's one thing. But if he stalls and waits for us to get 40 million euro accepted, then that would be beautiful, and Lenny Yoro will be coming to Real Madrid, which is really good news. The main problem I have is, PSG. I don't think Liverpool are going to be too much of a problem, because if it's a straight shootout between Real Madrid and any of these teams, I think Real Madrid win. The only problem is if PSG or Man United are going to just shoot and they're just going to go over the top of their bids, then that's the problem, because then you're talking about a situation where Real Madrid are trying to stall, but if he just wants to take the money and go and get at a starting spot elsewhere, then that's just that, and that's over. So it's a difficult situation for Real Madrid, and the negotiations are continuing, but you don't really know what to happen at this current moment in time. But we all know that his priority is Real Madrid, and I've talked about Lenny Yoro plenty of times on this channel. I've talked about his qualities and what he's good at, and the fact he is 18 and he's really good, and so he's got plenty to develop. But I think this is a really good move for us at this stage, which is to bring in an 18-year-old who can be the long-term partner of Eder Militao, which is what I've really wanted for a long time, which is a long-term partner for Militao. If we can bring him in and we can make him the long-term partner, then that's beautiful, and I think that will be great for us to have on the centre-back role. But the alternatives, well, a couple of days ago it circulated about the alternatives to Lenny Yoro, which was there was one alternative circled, which was Mario Gila. Now, obviously he played a couple of years ago in Castilla, and he moved last year to Lazio. He had a solid year at Lazio, but Lazio themselves did not have a solid year. They were quite bad, in fact, and so I think their main problem was not actually the defense; it was their attack, and they couldn't score goals. And a couple days ago, I saw Ciro Immobile leaving, so it's currently not a great time for Lazio. But if we look at their season, it was pretty dire for most of the year. I tuned into the Lazio game every once in a while, and then I clicked off immediately because it was just unwatchable at points. So you talk about Lazio, and that's not his fault. I can't give that to him. And when he played against Bayern, I've got to give it to him. He was really good in the first leg. let me put that forward in the first leg. The second leg was an absolute shit show from the whole team. But yeah, I think he was a solid player for Lazio last season, and definitely wasn't the cause of their poor form. But at the end of the day, they finished seventh. They only scored 49 goals, which was ridiculously bad. You look one place ahead in Roma, they scored 65. So that's the difference you're talking about. But at the end of the day, I think he's not a bad replacement. But it then brings me to the idea: why is Rafa Marin sold if you're just going to bring in Mario Gila? And I think that's completely fine for me to say, because I think Rafa Marin has probably got a higher potential than Mario Gila. But I think now Rafa Marin's been sold. You're talking about Mario Gila as if he's going to be something great. I don't think he is, but I think Lazio is probably his ceiling. But talking about Rafa Marin, he has been signed to Napoli now. I think this is a really good move for him, because it was obvious that Real Madrid didn't want to keep him. But I think this is a really nice move for him. Obviously, you've got Antonio Conte next year for Napoli, which he's going to prioritise that defence over anything. And if you play in a back five with Napoli right now, it's looking like you could potentially do a back five of Spinazzola, who they signed recently, which is really nice for them, on the left. And then a back three of Rafa Marin, potentially Buongiorno, Italy international, and then Rahmani, who's been playing for them for a couple of years now, and then Di Lorenzo on the right. So you're talking about a good team which has good defensive solidity, and if he can find himself a way into that team and starting, he could be a really good fit for them, and I think that could eventually lead him back to Real Madrid, which is what we all want in the end, isn't it? We want Rafa Marin to succeed, and we want him to play well at Real Madrid. So I really like this move for him. 22 years old. He's obviously had a decent year at Alaves last year, and I thought he was quite impressive at points. And kept Alaves up. So I think this is a quite impressive thing for Rafa Marin, and a good move for him, nonetheless. So yeah, I think it's a really good stuff from Rafa Marin, and it's a good deal from Napoli as well, because if it goes well, then they've got a really good defender on their hands. If it doesn't, they can just cut their losses, and yeah, that's it. But there's been a lot of talk about Andriy Lunin recently, and I think that's going to be a huge thing in the coming weeks, because there's been a lot of noise from him. I mean, like, at the end of the last season, it was kind of sad for him. I mean, the way that it just ended the season, despite him having a great year last year. And then the Euros, man, the Euros have been so bad from him. I mean, like, the first game, 3-0 against Romania, and you could argue that all 3 goals were his fault. And so that's a huge problem. I mean, for his confidence, and then he was dropped for Anatoly Trubin, who's actually a good keeper himself. So I can't say anything about that. But I think it's definitely a difficult thing. It's a difficult situation, and so he's mentioned that I want to stay, but my future is in the hands of the club, and also Courtois is one of the best, but I want to play. And so you look at this situation and you say, well, Courtois is the best goalkeeper in the world. He emphasised that when he came back last season, and he put in masterclass after masterclass. So I just feel like there isn't any pathway in. Here's the thing, I think now Ancelotti has seen what Lunin can do and can trust Lunin. I think he can guarantee him all the Copa del Rey games with no exceptions. I think he can guarantee him a couple league games here and there if it's a dead rubber, especially at the end of the season. The 6th Champions League game, I think he can 100% guarantee him, and some of those league games as well. So maybe the other option is you do what Barcelona did in 2014-15, is what I'd like to say, with Claudio Bravo and Marc-Andre ter Stegen, where they had Bravo for the league, and then they had ter Stegen for the Champions League. Maybe that's something you do, but I don't see Lunin as the quality of ter Stegen was that time, and I think Courtois was much better than Claudio Bravo was at that time as well. So it's not really too much of a corresponding situation, I would like to say. So it's a tough situation for Andriy Lunin, and one which I don't know what will happen, because I think he could be, this could be a huge problem for him. Now, there have been rumours about him going to Arsenal. I don't see why. I don't think it's a good move for him because they've already got two pretty good goalkeepers in itself with David Raya and Aaron Ramsdale. So I just don't see the reason why they would do that. Maybe if we could do a swap deal with us, with him and David Raya, I think that would be a good move for us. But I don't think Arsenal would want to do that. But yeah, I think it's a tough situation for us, and we have to see what happens. But he definitely does deserve to start elsewhere in Europe if he decides to leave. And so you can tell that Andrew Lennon is a guy who needs confidence to play well. And I just feel like you don't know how much of that confidence you're going to get when you're playing second fiddle to Thibaut Courtois, which isn't the worst job in the world, but nonetheless he deserves to start. So Real Madrid have tried to circulate some replacements for Andrew Lennon, and this will be quite interesting. I think we've got quite a few of these decent enough replacements ready, watching, and that'd be quite interesting to see what we would do in the eventuality of Andrew Lennon leaving, because this has been our situation for a couple of years now. I can't remember the last time. It must have been Areola, where we had a backup goalkeeper out and out. So Areola was obviously a good goalkeeper for us in that situation, in that difficult situation we had, and so that'll be quite interesting to see whether we can do anything about that. But there's some of the options have been Kepa, which has been the big one. I mean, I wouldn't mind Kepa. I think everyone played Kepa's thing with. It was quite overblown how bad Kepa was. I think people overreacted a lot. I think he was decent. I think he had a couple mistakes, but that's fine. Like it didn't cost us too much in the end, did it? So I think Kepa is completely fine for me. I think that's not bad, especially as a backup goalkeeper. I just don't mind that at all. I think is completely fine. And if he's to replace Andrew Lennon, I don't mind that whatsoever. So I don't mind Kepa at all. The other option is David De Gea, who still somehow is a free agent. I just don't understand that. But I wouldn't mind that as a backup. I didn't want him as the main goalkeeper last year. Nothing's changed this year. I don't want him as the main goalkeeper this year. But in the eventuality of a Courtois injury, I think David De Gea is not a bad replacement. He has been jobless for a year now, so that's something. But what can you do about that? I mean, there is nothing you can do. So I don't mind David De Gea. At the end of the day, he's not a bad goalkeeper, and he hasn't suddenly turned bad overnight. But I wouldn't be so sure about bringing him on the cheap, on the free. Had to be the first choice goalkeeper. I think that we got to aim a bit higher, like we did with Kepa. But the other one is Joan Garcia from Espanyol. A lot of you may not have heard of Joan Garcia, but last year in the second division, he had a really, really, really stellar campaign. He's 24 years old now, but broken into this Espanyol first team, and he is a really, really nice shot stopper. He's okay with his feet. There's nothing exceptional, but I think that shot stopping ability is really good. Obviously, you've got to see it translate to the first tier next year, but I think he's a decent enough goalkeeper, and let's just say it's 10 million to sign him from Espanyol. I don't mind that. The last signing we signed from Espanyol didn't turn out too bad, did he? José. So I don't mind that as a backup goalkeeper. It's not a bad situation to have him. But those are my three options in the eventuality that Andrew Lennon leaves. This is a situation where we had to encounter a couple of years ago, where me and Sean both said he should probably leave and we should sign a replacement. We kept on talking about who was it? Is David Soria as mine and his options for that situation. But I mean that's completely fine. Then you talk about the squad numbers. Let's talk about the squad numbers, because there have been some new squad numbers announced as the new season is approaching. Let's begin. Eduardo Camavinga is the new number 6 of Real Madrid. That's a really, really nice one. Coming after all these number 6s, I think it's perfect for his position. I think he deserves it. Taking it from Nacho as well, I think that's a really good move for him, and I think I like that number for him. And so, hopefully in this new season where he could potentially get that starting role, I think that number 6 definitely benefits and definitely fits him really nicely. Then Fede Valverde, number 8 for Real Madrid, takes it for Toni Kroos. 100% love this from Fede. I think this is a really good move for him, and one in which hopefully, we've seen him go take those steps up in all aspects of his game. Initially when he came under Zidane, you were talking about him just being that physical runner. Nowadays, you look at him and he's a defensive monster. He's so good at progressing the ball with it just by driving forward, and that long passing's taken such a big step up. Hopefully, he can take some of that load off Toni Kroos's back and take it for himself, because I think that's a really good thing for him. And I think that number 8, he's obviously moving from his number 15, but whatever. I like this with Fede Valverde. Then Kylian Mbappe, number 9. Sure, whatever. In an ideal situation, this is what I would have done a couple of years ago, where we was talking about this. I would have done V with Mbappe number 7. I would have gone for Endrick number 9, Vini number 11, and then Rodrigo number 10. But whatever. I think Mbappe number 9 is completely fine. There's got to be a lot of talk about Mbappe right now. We've got to talk about him in the coming weeks, because he had an appalling Euros, and he had one of his worst Champions League campaigns in his career. So, a little bit of talk has to go into that. But, I don't mind. This is a nice move for Kylian Mbappe, and I think number 9 is a good step for him. Then, Aurelien Tchouameni gets number 14. I like this for him. He follows the footsteps of the previous defensive midfielders with Casemiro, and with Xabi Alonso with number 14. I think this is a really good one for him. One in which he can definitely make a number for himself, and that is his number. So I like that for him. And then Arda Güler, number 15, taking Fede Valverde's one. I like that for him. It's a good development step, and hopefully in a couple of years' time, he can get a little bit of a lower notice score number, and hopefully he can take that and follow up on his amazing Euros campaign which he had. That was fantastic from him. And then the most important one yet, Jesus Vallejo had number 18. And it takes it from Tchouameni. Rumour has it that Tchouameni didn't actually take the 14 by choice. Is because Vallejo took it from him. But whatever, I think this is fine. This is going to be his last year at Real Madrid. Sad times. But as a backup centre back, I don't mind him, and I think he can be decent for us. So, Jesus Vallejo is back somehow. I don't know, how did we sign that contract? I just don't understand that, how he signed the contract for him to still be here. But whatever, I don't mind it. He's here, and hopefully he plays so well that he gets a big contract this summer, and he becomes the highest earner at Real Madrid. But really nice for him. Then we've got to talk about Franco Mastronono, because it's nearly done. That deal is nearly done, and so that's really nice for him, and one in which maybe in the future we can talk about that. But I think he's very, very close. What's going to happen is he's going to stay at River Plate for one more year, which is exactly what we need. I don't think he should come to Real Madrid, especially with the situation we have with the midfielders. So I think we should let him stay with the River Plate and make his name, because he still hasn't kind of done that with River Plate. So I think let him rest at River Plate for a year. I don't think we need him right now. So that's that, and that is it for Real Madrid news. But let's talk a little bit about Euros and Copa America, because the final is upon us. Today is the final day, and it's my England versus Spain. Oof, that's a tough one. Listen, my head is obviously saying Spain is a much better team, and that's obvious. It's so obvious. Spain is just levels clear of England, and to be totally honest, Spain has been the best team in this tournament. But at the end of the day, Spain have got to this final by playing good football. England have got to this final by playing shit football, but they're both in the same spot. So at the end of the day, it's going to be down to who can do this, who can get past this point and win that trophy. It's not going to be down to who plays the best football, because the possession stats don't count for nothing at the end of the day. So listen, I know you're gonna call me a delusional English fan, and I wouldn't consider myself a delusional English fan. I've continually said that we don't deserve to win these games, and I've continually said that. I thought Switzerland had a good chance of knocking us out. I thought Netherlands had a good chance of knocking us out. But at this point, listen, we've got past those stages against those adversities. There is just something, a part of me that says England are going to win this final. 3 years ago, England lost that final against Italy, and in a traumatic manner on penalties. It's going to be different this time, 100%. I feel it. I feel it's going to be different this time. We've got a team, and I think, listen, the team looked good last time against the Netherlands. At points, it has to be stressed. But I really do like this. I think this could be a good team for us, and I think this could be the time for England to win this finals. And so I've got to say it. England win 1-0. Even saying that's really difficult because I don't see a way England keeps this Spain team quiet. And this could go really badly because I could see us losing 5-0 against Spain, to be totally honest. Repeat of 2012 with Spain against Italy. But I think England do win this final, and I think there is some way they're going to brute force their way through to this final, and they're going to rewrite the wrongs of 2021. And so, yeah, I've got to say England win this one. But heading to Copa America, heading to South America, there's a final between Argentina and Colombia. Listen, I told you guys that I think that Colombia are going to win the Copa America. A couple of weeks ago, I said that Colombia are going to win the Copa America, and I said that it's either going to be them or Uruguay in the finals. That was more of a hard decision rather than head, because I know that Argentina, at the end of the day, Colombia have been the best team in the tournament, but Argentina are the best team, full stop, at the tournament. So you've got to look at it from that perspective. But listen, Colombia has to get this done in 90 minutes, but I believe they can do it. I think Colombia can do it. James Rodriguez, wow, what a performance he's put on at this tournament. Some of these guys though, who I didn't really believe in going into the tournament. You look at Daniel Munoz, right back. He's been fantastic for Colombia. I think at centre back, Davinson Sanchez, he's been ridiculously good, and someone who, I had no hope in, to be totally honest. But he's been locking up the other teams. He's been fantastic. Arias has been good, and someone who came a couple of years ago to Europe, but now in Brazil is really impressive from him. But I think a big shout has got to go to Richard Rios from Palmeiras. He's been fantastic. He's like, I've seen some highlights of Palmeiras games, and I don't think he's been that great for Palmeiras, but for Colombia he's been so Rolls Royce in defensive midfield. You can't get the ball off him when he wants to drive and get that ball forward. You can't get past him. He's just been really big for them. And then you look at the front three. You look at Luis Diaz. Wow, he's had a fantastic tournament himself, hasn't he? And so I've got to say it. I know Argentina are better. I know that. I know 100%. I know that Argentina have won two tournaments in a row. I know that. But there is just something about this Colombia team that just makes me believe that Colombia can go all the way. First final in 23 years. I've got to say it. Colombia win. They win 2-1. I think 2 goals from Luis Diaz, and then 1 goal from Lautaro Martinez on the other side. And so Colombia go ahead and win. And let's see what happens. But it'll be an exciting one. Today, Fede obviously drew against Canada 2-2, and then won on penalties. So Uruguay at 3rd place, really good for them. But yeah, that concludes today's Los Blancos podcast. A little bit of a shorter one, but just a little roundup of what's been happening around Real Madrid. But it hasn't been much, because it's been quite quiet from Real Madrid, especially for a summer. This has been really quiet. But at the end of the day, we're still pumping out these videos. In a couple of weeks or next week we'll be back. Hopefully Sean will be back, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, that is it for today. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.